greatest minds across the galaxy had studied the inscrutable alien megastructure for months and still could not figure out its purpose or workings. Nobody could decipher its immense energy readings or unlock its technological secrets. Nobody, except perhaps the humans. Captain Jones strode into Admiral Zorg's office, the doors sliding shut with a hiss behind him. The Galactic Federation starship's interior hummed with activity beyond the bulkheads. Jones stopped and saluted the gray-skinned, four-armed figure seated behind an expansive desk. "Captain Jones reporting as ordered, Admiral." His voice was steady despite the tension coiled in his gut. Surprise summons from the top brass rarely meant good news. Zorg waved a long-fingered hand. "At ease, Captain." His black eyes fixed on Jones, unblinking. "We have a situation that requires your unique expertise." Jones raised an eyebrow but said nothing, waiting for the Admiral to continue. "Are you familiar with the Nausicaans?" Zorg asked. Jones nodded curtly. Aggressive, xenophobic, technologically advanced, constantly pressing against Federation borders despite the armistice. Everyone knew of the Nausicaans and their expansionist agenda. "Indeed." Zorg steepled his fingers. "Intel reports they've discovered a derelict megastructure of unknown origin in unclaimed space. But here's the classified part." He leaned forward. "They've been studying it for months, but our sources say they're still struggling to understand its purpose or tap into its technology." Jones frowned. The Nausicaans were no slouches in the science department, if they were stumped. "The energy readings are like nothing we've ever seen," Zorg continued grimly. "Theoretical models suggest that if the Nausicaans reverse engineer the power source, they could gain an unimaginable military advantage, become the dominant power in the galaxy." An icy chill rippled down Jones's spine as he processed the implications, the fate of galactic civilization in the hands of the ruthless Nausicaans. Zorg fixed him with a piercing stare. "Captain, I need you to assemble an elite team of human specialists. Infiltrate the Nausicaan research base. Learn everything you can about that megastructure and bring back any data you can. But this must be a covert mission. We can't be seen openly interfering in their sovereign space." Jones straightened, responding to the gravity in Zorg's voice. "Understood, Admiral. We'll get you those answers." "See that you do, Captain. We're counting on you. You're our best hope of figuring out the unfathomable. Dismissed." As Jones exited the office, his mind was already racing, assembling his team and formulating infiltration strategies. The stakes couldn't be higher. If his crack squad of human operatives couldn't unravel the ancient megastructure's secrets in time, the unthinkable could happen. Jones wasted no time after his meeting with Admiral Zorg. He immediately tapped into the Federation's personnel files, searching for the specialists he needed for this high-stakes mission. 3 names quickly rose to the top of his list. Dr. Liam Hawkins was a brilliant xenotechnology expert, renowned for his ability to decipher even the most enigmatic alien systems. Lieutenant Commander Eric Reese had a reputation as a top-notch pilot and infiltration specialist, with a knack for getting in and out of tight spots undetected. And Sergeant Max Tycho was a veteran combat engineer who had seen action in some of the Federation's toughest campaigns. Within hours, Jones had his team assembled aboard a state-of-the-art stealth shuttle. Reese ran his hands over the controls, getting a feel for the advanced cloaking tech that would be their key to slipping past the Nausicaan defenses. "I've never seen a rig quite like this," Reese said, a hint of admiration in his voice. "We'll be ghosts out there." Jones nodded, his eyes fixed on the readouts detailing the layout of the Nausicaan research base. "That's the plan. We've identified an auxiliary airlock on the least guarded side of the station. That's our infiltration point." Tycho leaned in, studying the schematic. "What's our exit strategy if things go sideways?" "You'll stay with the shuttle," Jones said to Reese. "Be ready for a quick extraction if we need it. Hawkins, Tycho, and I will head for the central lab. We get in, download the data, and get out. Quick and clean." Hawkins looked up from the hacking tools he was prepping, his brow furrowed. "And if the Nausicaans have made more progress than we expect?" Jones met his gaze. "Then we adapt. But one way or another, we're getting those answers. As the shuttle approached the base, Reese activated the cloaking device. The small craft seemed to shimmer and vanish against the starfield. They drifted past patrolling Nausicaan ships, unseen and unheard. Reese guided the shuttle to the airlock with practiced precision. Jones, Hawkins, and Tycho geared up, checking their weapons and equipment. The airlock hissed open, and the three men slipped into the Nausicaan base. The corridors were dimly lit and strangely quiet, the only sound the hum of distant machinery. They made their way deeper into the facility, following the route they had memorized. Twice they had to duck into alcoves to avoid passing Nausicaan patrols. Finally, they reached the central research lab. Hawkins got to work on the door's security panel, his fingers flying over the unfamiliar controls. After a tense minute, the door slid open. The lab was a maze of alien technology, dominated by the looming shape of the derelict megastructure itself. Hawkins headed straight for the main computer console, pulling out his hacking tools. As Hawkins worked feverishly to bypass the security protocols and start the data transfer, Jones and Tycho took up positions on either side of the door, watching for any sign of trouble. Minutes ticked by as Hawkins delved deeper into the Nausicaan research logs. Suddenly, he let out a low whistle. "Captain, you need to see this." Jones moved to his side, scanning the dense technical readouts. "They've activated it?" he said in disbelief. Hawkins nodded grimly. "Not fully, but they're getting there. This tech, it's like nothing I've ever seen." Just then, an alarm sounded, the shrill noise echoing through the base. Tycho cursed under his breath. "They've made us." Hawkins' hands flew over the console. "I'm not finished." "Work fast," Jones said, readying his weapon as the sound of pounding feet grew louder. "Tycho, defensive positions." They could hear the Nausicaan troops just outside now. Jones and Tycho aimed their weapons at the door, fingers on the triggers. Hawkins' console beeped. "Data transfer complete." "Move," Jones ordered. They burst out of the lab, firing at the startled Nausicaan soldiers. The air filled with the crackle of energy weapons and the shouts of men. They fought their way back through the base, the Nausicaans in hot pursuit. Reese had the shuttle ready and waiting when they reached the airlock. They piled inside, Jones banging his hand on the button to seal the hatch. "Go!" Reese punched the thrusters, the shuttle leaping away from the base as bolts of energy streaked past. The small craft jinked and wove, Reese coaxing every ounce of speed and maneuverability out of it. "Hang on!" he called, sending them into a dizzying spiral to avoid a barrage of missiles. Jones braced himself as the shuttle bucked and shuddered, the inertial dampeners struggling to compensate. But Reese's skills proved up to the task, and they soon left the Nausicaan base far behind, the cloaking device masking their escape vector. In the relative quiet of Federation space, Jones allowed himself a small sigh of relief. They had made it out, but even as Hawkins began poring over the stolen data, he knew this was nowhere near the end. The secrets of the alien megastructure were now within their grasp, but so too was the realization that they had just taken the opening move in a dangerous new game, one that could decide the fate of the galactic realm itself. The Federation science vessel Archimedes hung in space, its sleek hull gleaming under the light of distant stars. Inside, the air buzzed with nervous energy as Captain Jones and his team docked their shuttle. Dr. Hawkins burst from the airlock, clutching a data drive to his chest like a precious gem. "We got it," he panted, sweat beading on his brow. A crowd of eager scientists swarmed around them, peppering the team with questions. Jones held up a hand, silencing the chatter. "Let's get to work," he said firmly. In the main lab, Hawkins plugged in the drive. Screens lit up, flooding the room with a soft blue glow. Alien symbols and diagrams flashed by at dizzying speed. "Incredible," breathed a Vulcan xenoarchaeologist, her eyes wide. "This data, it's beyond anything we've ever seen." For days, the brightest minds in the Federation pored over the information. Species after species tried and failed to crack its secrets. Andorians argued with Tellarites over conflicting interpretations. Even the logical Vulcans found themselves stymied. But as the others floundered, Hawkins and his human team pushed forward. They worked tirelessly, fueled by coffee and dedication. Where others saw insurmountable obstacles, they found creative solutions. "What if we look at it like this?" Hawkins said one night, scribbling furiously on a whiteboard. His colleagues stared, then slowly nodded as understanding dawned. Bit by bit, the humans unraveled the megastructure's mysteries. They proposed wild theories that made their alien counterparts scoff until those theories proved correct. "The energy readings," Hawkins explained, gesturing to a holographic model. "They're not just defying physics, they're rewriting it. This thing, it's bending space-time itself." As breakthroughs mounted, so did the pressure. Reports trickled in of Nausicaan progress. The race was on. Jones paced the bridge of the Archimedes, his face grim. "We need more," he said. "We have to go back." And so they did. Armed with cutting-edge tech born from human ingenuity, Jones and his team once again infiltrated the Nausicaan base. In the cavernous chamber housing the megastructure, Hawkins carefully attached their custom-built interface. A soft hum filled the air as connection was established. Back on the Archimedes, scientists crowded around monitors. Data flooded in faster than they could process. Tantalizing glimpses of the structure's true nature flashed by. "We're close," Hawkins whispered. "So close." Alarms blared. The Nausicaans had found them. "We need more time," Hawkins shouted over the din of approaching troops. Jones gritted his teeth, weapon raised. "How much?" "Just a few more minutes." As his team engaged the Nausicaan forces, Hawkins made a split-second decision. His fingers flew over the controls, initiating a download of raw precursor code directly into the Federation systems. "What are you doing?" Jones yelled, ducking enemy fire. "Something we might regret," Hawkins replied grimly, "but it's our only shot." The battle raged as the download completed. Jones and his outnumbered team fought tooth and nail, slowly giving ground as they retreated to their extraction point. As they finally broke free, racing back to their shuttle under a hail of weapons fire, none of them could shake the feeling that they'd just changed the course of galactic history, for better or worse. The Archimedes shuddered as it dropped out of warp, the barren planet looming before them. Captain Jones stood on the bridge, his eyes hardened as he watched Dr. Hawkins frantically pore over data streams on his console. "We're approaching the research outpost," Lieutenant Reese reported from the helm. Jones nodded. "Take us in." As they descended through the planet's toxic atmosphere, the stark silhouette of the facility came into view. At its center stood an imposing spherical structure, its metallic surface gleaming under the harsh light of the system's neutron star. "My God," Sergeant Tycho breathed. "He actually built it." The landing bay doors ground open, admitting the Archimedes. As soon as the ship touched down, Hawkins was on his feet, racing for the airlock. "Doctor," Jones called, hurrying after him. "We need to discuss—" But Hawkins was gone, bounding across the hangar floor toward a cluster of haggard-looking engineers. Jones cursed under his breath and followed. Inside the main lab, banks of computers hummed ominously. Hawkins' fingers flew over keyboards, his eyes darting between readouts. "It's ready," he announced, his voice thick with fatigue and excitement. "We can begin the power-up sequence." Admiral Zorg's holographic form flickered to life nearby. "Dr. Hawkins, I must again urge caution. The potential risks are nothing compared to the breakthroughs we stand to achieve." Hawkins cut him off. He turned to Jones, his eyes fever-bright. "Captain, you've seen what I've seen. You know what's at stake." Jones hesitated, torn between duty and the intoxicating possibility of unlocking the universe's secrets. Finally, he nodded. "Do it." Hawkins grinned and initiated the startup sequence. The air grew thick with tension as power readings climbed. Suddenly, alarms blared. Red warning lights bathed the lab in an eerie glow. "Radiation levels are spiking," an engineer shouted. "It's within acceptable parameters," Hawkins insisted, his hands flying over the controls. "We're almost there." The floor beneath them began to vibrate. Outside, The massive sphere pulsed with otherworldly energy. "Hawkins," Jones said, his voice tight, "maybe we should—" "No," Hawkins snapped. "We're on the cusp of something incredible. I can feel it." The scientist's eyes were wild now, fixed on the readouts as the device's power continued to build. Jones watched, torn between awe and terror, as humanity stood poised to rewrite the laws of physics itself. The facility shook violently as the startup sequence reached its climax. Alarms blared, their piercing wails drowned out by the deafening roar of raw energy being torn from the fabric of reality itself. Hawkins stood transfixed before the control panel, his eyes wide and wild. Sweat poured down his face as he watched the impossible become reality. The hyper-compressed singularity core pulsed with otherworldly light, each flash sending tremors through the floor. "It's working!" Hawkins shouted over the cacophony. "We've done it!" For one breathtaking moment, it seemed he was right. Within the spherical framework of the device, a shimmering bubble of warped space-time flickered into existence. Gravitational forces beyond human comprehension bent to their will. Jones felt his stomach lurch as he watched. Something primal within him screamed that this was wrong, that they had crossed a line never meant to be breached. His instincts proved correct. The contained rift began to fluctuate, its edges wavering and distorting. Hawkins's triumphant grin faltered as he frantically worked the controls. "No, no, no," he muttered. "This can't be happening." But it was. The localized rift expanded outward at an exponential rate, consuming everything in its path. Exotic matter and negative energy flooded the contained bubble, overwhelming all safeguards. Jones watched in abject horror as the research outpost vanished, swallowed by the ravenous void. The barren planet outside lasted mere seconds longer before it too was consumed. Hawkins turned to Jones, his face a mask of shocked realization. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. In the next instant, the scientist's body began to break apart at the subatomic level as the rift engulfed him. On the bridge of the Archimedes, chaos reigned. Crew members shouted in panic as sensors blared warnings of an approaching cosmic shockwave. "Admiral Zorg, to all hands," the holographic figure's voice cut through the din. "Initiate emergency evacuation procedures immediately." Lieutenant Reese's fingers flew across the helm controls. "Sir, conventional warp drive won't outrun this. We need options." Jones made a split-second decision. "Activate the experimental spore drive, now!" Engineers raced to bring the untested system online. The ship shuddered as reality itself seemed to twist around them. "Spore drive activated," Reese called out. "But sir, we have no fixed coordinates. This is a blind jump." Jones gripped the arms of his chair. "Do it. Anywhere but here." With a sickening lurch, the Archimedes vanished from known space, catapulted into an alternate universe mere moments before the cosmic shockwave obliterated everything in its path. As the disoriented crew struggled to get their bearings in this alien reality, Jones knew with grim certainty that they had only delayed the inevitable. Hawkins's hubris had unleashed something beyond their comprehension, a primordial force that would not rest until it had consumed all of existence. The true horror of what they had done was only beginning to dawn on them.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.